Hello and welcome to the final instalment of the 30-minute meditations, Building Your Resilience During Uncertainty. I hope that you enjoy this webinar. Please don't forget to like it and subscribe for our latest content. We at SBK Healthcare would like to thank you so much for taking the time out this evening to join us. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic session. So I would like to introduce our speaker today, Dr Mike Scanlan. I'm sure many of you recognise him by now. He is the mental health consultant at Therapies. So thanks so much, Mike.
My pleasure, and looking forward to tonight's session. Just as we have done with all the other ones, it's been a real pleasure to do these. And I'll just bring this slideshow up. Ooh, says he. And thank you very much there, Vanessa. So tonight we're looking at resilience from a mindfulness perspective, and this sense of the mountain meditation, which for me, as I think I said last week, is my most loved meditation. That and I really like the Jon Kabat-Zinn recording of this, and that's the one that if I'm going to do a guided meditation of the mountain, then I tend to go online and find the Jon Kabat-Zinn. I just find his voice so restful. I'm hoping you'll find this as useful as I find this meditation. And before we start actually into, because we're just doing one meditation tonight, but it's a really quite an intensive meditation. And the fact that it's a long meditation, I think, is a real plus, because what we can do from it is we can use this ability to find a cue word. And so in a moment, when I ask you to see if we can just stop and find the mountain of your choice, and that sometimes just means that we close our eyes and we think about, okay, is there a mountain that means something to me? And for me, weirdly enough, some people would say, it was a hill, but let's not get snobby about when a hill becomes a mountain, etc. But there's a peak in the Mendips called Crook's Peak. And as a kid, I spent a lot of time climbing up and down Crook's Peak. And so it has real meaning for me, but it does reach up into the sky, and it hasn't changed one tiny bit. And so in a moment, I'm going to ask you to find your mountain. Perhaps let's do that now. So if we just close our eyes for a moment and we ask ourselves, is there a peak or a mountain that we can think of that resonates with us in some way? And as we think about it, we try and get something of a picture of that peak, that mountain. And we notice the way that we resonate with that, because as we find that mountain and we use the unique name of it, for me, of course, it would be Crook's Peak. And if I just say that word, Crook's Peak, in times of difficulty, in times of high stress, just by saying that cue phrase, the name of the mountain, what it can do is it can take us, having practiced the mountain meditation, straight into that wonderful place of unwavering stillness and groundedness in the face of everything that is impacting in our own lives over seconds, over hours, and over years. Because mountains have an awful lot to teach humans. In the same way as we sit in meditation, we can learn to experience our unique mountain. We can use the cue word of your mountain to enable you to make contact with that unwavering stillness, the sheer massive immovability of your mountain, and get a real sense of the groundedness of this huge structure that never changes, really. You know, Crook's Peak will still stand there strong and magnificent in thousands of years' time. And so we connect with that sense of groundedness that helps us so much. And as we, I think, acknowledge that maybe in our lives, we've experienced almost constantly the changing nature of mind and body and of that outer world. And we think about this year, and we've all had our own periods of light and darkness. We've all had times this year of frantic, frightening activity and stultifying inactivity. We've had moments of real color and moments of incredible drabness. And mountains are like that, you know. And it's true that by becoming our mountains, by just using that cue word at any point in the day when we start to feel a bit wobbly, a bit uncertain, we can link up with that strength and stability, and we can imbue that in our own physicality, using the energies of that mountain to support our energy to take us through difficult days. And maybe we can learn to see that our thoughts, our feelings, our preoccupations, our emotional weather, think about that phrase for a moment, our emotional weather, that like the weather outside changes, and the mountain experiences weather like nothing else. Think about that peak of the mountain that experiences weather. But we tend to take that personally, almost, the emotional weather that bombards us and shifts and changes in our lives. And the mountain asks us to not ignore the weather, nor deny it, just to encounter it and to accept it, and to know that when one season is done with, another season comes. And this season that we're all in, this season of COVID, will pass, and we will move into a new season. But until we do, we have to sit and we have to hold ourselves. We have to come to know that deep silence and stillness and wisdom that mountains have for us, because the mountain can just wait, and the change of season will always come. So I think there is a lot that we can learn about mountains, but perhaps for you guys who are on that front line, struggling, working in the NHS, as I am and have been today, every now and then when we find ourselves feeling really kind of wobbly and uncertain, stop, close your eyes and cue yourself in to your mountain. Find the solidity, the permanence, the strength, the unwavering stillness, and sit with it. And acknowledge as well that this too shall pass and a new season will emerge. So, on timing, before we start our meditation, Billy the mindful dog has decided to woof because I believe an Amazon parcel has arrived. So do you know, I'm so glad that we hadn't actually started the meditation. We'd just been looking at what mountains have to teach us. But Billy, the less than mindful dog, will hopefully now go quiet. So the mountain meditation is normally done in a seated position, either on the floor or a chair. And it begins by just allowing ourselves to quietly adopt that position, that sense that if we were looking in that mirror of life, what we would see is a human being sitting, looking dignified, with that mindful half smile on our face that tells our brain that all is well. And that's important. So let's start. So I would just ask you to find a position of stability and poise. Your upper body perhaps balanced over your hips, and your shoulders should be comfortable but alert. Your hands resting in your lap or on your knees. Your arms just hanging by their own weight like heavy curtains, stable and relaxed. Actually sensing into your body, feeling your feet, your legs, your hips, your lower and upper body, connecting with your arms, your shoulders, your neck and your head. And when you're ready, just very gently allowing your eyes to either close, half close, or to just rest in awareness. And now let's bring our attention to the breath, the actual physical sensations of breathing. Really trying to feel each breath as it comes in and it leaves. Letting the breath be just as it is, without trying to change or regulate it in any way. Allowing it to flow with its own rhythm and its own pace. And friends, let's just know that however you're breathing perfectly well right now. And there is nothing for you to do other than to just breathe. Now let's allow our body to be still with this sense of dignity. Let's find a sense of resolve, a sense of completeness and wholeness in this very moment. Let your posture and your smile reflect this wholeness that we're finding. And as we sit here, can I ask that you cultivate an image and allow an image to form in your mind's eye of your mountain, a mountain that you know, or a mountain perhaps that you've seen. And if anybody's struggling with the visualization, just half open your eyes and look at my mountain, my peak that I've shared on the slide. And just see if you can't allow that image to form in your mind's eye, letting it gradually come into greater focus. And even if it doesn't come fully as a visual image, just looking at this picture on the screen of my mountain, allowing the sense of this mountain, feeling its overall shape, acknowledging the lofty peak or peaks that reach into the sky, and then the large base of the mountain, which is rooted in the bedrock of the Earth's crust, bringing attention to the sloping gently sloping sides. And as we sit here tonight, meditating, hold that mountain in your mind's eye and just acknowledge and notice how massive it is, how solid, how unmoving, and perhaps it's beautiful. Maybe your mountain has snow that blankets the top, the peak. Maybe it has trees that camouflage the base. Maybe it has rugged granite sides. Do you have streams cascading down slopes? Observe it, note it, and when you feel ready, let's now bring that sense of mountain into your own sitting body, so that your body and the mountain in your mind's eye merge and start to become one. So that as you sit here on this Tuesday evening in February, you start to share in the massiveness, the stillness, and the majesty of this mountain. In effect, we use the mindful process, we use visualization, we use calm, so that we can become that very mountain. And we notice that we too are grounded in this sitting position. Maybe allowing your head to become that lofty peak that reaches into the sky, that is supported by the rest of the body. Maybe as your head reaches, it offers you a panoramic view of your world and the stuff of your experience. And your shoulders and your arms replicate the sides of the mountain. And your seat and your legs become the solid core, the base, rooted to the cushion of your chair. Experiencing in your body a sense of uplift from deep within your pelvic girdle and spine. And with each breath, as you continue sitting, merging, becoming a little bit more of this breathing mountain, find that sense of alive and vital energy. And although we feel that energy, the mountain and us, we're unwavering in our inner stillness, being completely what you are, beyond words, beyond thought, becoming this centered, grounded, unmoving presence. And as we sit, manifesting this mountain, become aware that as the sun travels across the sky, the light and the shadows and the colors change moment by moment. Maybe the surface of your mountain teems with life and activity, streams and melting snow. And as the mountain sits, seeing and feeling that night follows day, follows night, the bright warming sun is followed by the cool night sky and the dawning of a new day. And through all of this, you, as the mountain, just sit, experiencing change in each moment, yet always just being. And as the seasons flow from one into another, and as the weather changes from moment by moment, the mountain stays calm. Calmness, abiding all change. And we get the sense that as the mountain sits through the seasons, some of the weather that the mountain encounters is wild. And in the winter time, as we sit holding our mountain poise and pose with that half mindful smile of recognition, we note that the lofty peak of our mountain in the winter time is buffeted, is frozen, is assailed by winds and rain and frost and snow. But it sits unwavering and still. We get a sense of this emotional weather that we're all experiencing during COVID and these wonderfully difficult times. And as we sit, we notice that we too can find the stillness and the completeness of the mountain. And we too can ride this period out, because the winter turns and becomes spring, and we will have our spring. And as spring comes and the flowers carpet our mountain, the spring moves into summer, and the warmth and the joy of the warmth, and the mountain endures the crackling hot heat of the summer, and again is unchanging. And the summer moves into autumn and gives way to winter once more. But the mountain stays the same. And in exactly the same way, as we sit right now in meditation, we can learn to embody that same central, unwavering stillness and groundedness in the face of everything that this very difficult time is throwing at us. And we can sit with this over the seconds of our day, the hours of our day, the weeks and the months of this experience, knowing that this too shall pass. And the changing nature of mind and body and the outer world. And just like the mountain, we too will have our own periods of light and darkness, our own periods of bright, vivacious color, and our moments of darkness and drabness. And it's true that we, like the mountain, experience emotional weather of varying intensity and violence in our worlds, in our own waking minds and bodies. We too are buffeted by emotion and fear. But I ask you, friends, can we be like the mountain? Can we find that stillness so that we too can hold the periods of darkness and pain, as well as we hold the moments of joy and uplift? And so by becoming the mountain in our meditation practice, we too can link in with that strength and that stability. And I just ask you for a moment to imagine that you're in the middle of the hubbub and the stress and the franticness of tomorrow, and you smile and you stop and you use the cue word of your mountain. Say it now. What's the name of your mountain? Speak it out loud and allow that name to cue you into stillness, confidence, patience, surety that this too shall pass, that this bleak winter will move into spring, will move into summer. So if you find that you resonate in some way with the strength and stability of the mountain, perhaps you can use that every day of your life. Just stop, find your strength, find your stability, find your emotional weather, and notice that it will change. And from darkness will become light, and from storms will shift into warm, safe, wonderful weather. So in the time that remains, just a couple of minutes now, just a minute or so, continue to hold that sense of the mountain. And let's just sit in silence for about 1 minute until we are called back into our evening by the sounds of the Tingsay bells. Let's just sit and hold the physicality of the mountain. And imagine bringing that physicality into your day, into moments of stress and difficulty. So thank you all so much. And mountains really do have an awful lot to teach us. And I'm hoping that tomorrow, later on today, you try that. Use your cue word, the name of the mountain, followed by a smile, followed by a moment of peacefulness. Find the physicality of the mountain. Find that unwavering stillness. Find that immovability. Find the strength of the mountain and use it to build your resilience, to take you through what is possibly the scariest, most incredibly challenging times most of us will ever have in our lives. So we need mindfulness and we need mountains. And I'll hand you back to Vanessa.
Thanks so much, Mike. I hope that everyone else found that as restorative and as relaxing as I did. I'm sure that everyone here would like to thank you, Mike, for delivering these.
It's my pleasure. I've really enjoyed it myself, and it's just lovely to be able to help out a little bit because it's such a horrible, tough time, isn't it?
It is. It's been fantastic working with you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.